And there we have two portraits in one of the hallways. And they're of two of our benefactors who donated a large part of money. Now, I always say goodnight to the portraits whenever I lock up. That's how I mentally know, okay, I locked the office door. So I did my, usual scan, lock the door, check the door, make sure it was locked. And I said, good night, Dr. Smith. Good night, Mrs. Smith. And I heard a woman's voice say, good night, Emily. And I thought, oh, it's one of the residents. So I looked around to see who it was, and I'm like, there's nobody out here.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies in their diapers, welcome to the Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy.
That's me, Tiberius.
And welcome to the Tiberius Show today, and I'm your host, Tiberius Boy. And as always, we're looking at various jobs and how they affect the world around us. Today's is going to be very interesting. We're going to talk to a night matron and a Disney custodian. Wow, do you have any idea what a night matron does? Well, you know what? Neither do I. So you know what? Let's just talk to this lady and find out for sure. Let me introduce our next guest, the one, the only, the amazing Emily Jahnke.
Hi.
Well, thank you for being on the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
Okay, so you are listed as a night matron. Can you explain to us exactly what does that mean?
Well, unfortunately, it's not as exciting as it sounds. Basically, my job is to lock up the building at night and listen for any emergency phone calls that come in. And if there's an emergency like a fire or a tornado, heaven forbid, knock on wood, that does not happen, then my job is to evac the building and get medical personnel over, all that fun stuff.
So it's kind of like a security guard, nurse, and like a cook all in one?
Kind of. Definitely security guard. Some night matrons can be nurses. I'm not a registered nurse. I haven't taken the classes or the certification. Sometimes I do work in the kitchen, but that's occasional now. So mostly I just lock up the building at night.
So why did you decide that this was the job for you?
Well, this, again, not a really fun part about it. I needed a place to live and food on the table, and this job offered both. So you can stay in the building, you get 3 square meals a day, and any snacks you want, within reason, obviously, if you can lock up the building every other night or whatever schedule works out for everybody. So
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So are you ever scared working so late at night?
Not really. It's a pretty chill, relaxed place to work. I mean, there's always like that, 99 hours of boredom, 1 minute of sheer terror. But again, that 1 minute has only happened once, and it wasn't that bad. I mean, once I realized what was going on, I'm like, okay, this is not bad. I can do this.
So, Emily, what are some of the most craziest things that has happened in a night shift?
Well, other than the building being haunted, not really that much.
Really?
Yep.
Tell me more about that. I'm intrigued.
About the ghosts?
Yeah.
Well, we're an old establishment. We actually were founded as an orphanage, actually. And obviously, state takes care of that now. So we have people who are retired, they live here. And a lot of people lived here over the years. And probably the weirdest one was I was locking up, and there we have 2 portraits in one of the hallways. And they're of 2 of our benefactors who donated a large part of money. Now, I always say goodnight to the portraits whenever I lock up. That's how I mentally know, okay, I locked the office door. So I did my usual scan, lock the door, check the door, make sure it was locked. And I said, good night, Dr. Smith. Good night, Mrs. Smith. And I heard a woman's voice say, good night, Emily. And I thought, oh, it's one of the residents. So I looked around to see who it was, and I'm like, there's nobody out here.
What?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, I think it was Mrs. Smith keeping an eye on us, just making sure we were safe. That's my personal opinion. She's pretty friendly. There's other ones too, but that haven't happened to me. I've heard them from other workers here, so.
Huh. Well, do you get to know the residents and, learn their stories?
Oh, definitely. I've worked here for about, almost a year and a half now. And I get to know the residents pretty well. For a while, I worked in the kitchen, as I mentioned. So I got to meet the residents. I know all their names. I know their drink orders. And you get all sorts of stories. There's one lady in particular. I brought some iced tea for her one time. She couldn't make it to supper or something. I couldn't remember what, but I brought it in, and there were all these pictures up on the wall. And I knew about the pictures. I'd seen them before. And she started talking about it. Oh, that picture up there in that corner, that's my dad and that's my mom. And then, that's my picture of my sister and me when we were really little. That's my cousin. And she had all these stories. And I'm like, wow. Because she wasn't someone who talked very much about who she was as, what she did before she came to the home. So it was really nice to learn about her stories.
So I assume that you have to, stay awake. But what do you do to stay awake when everyone else is, sleeping?
Well, here's the interesting part. I don't have to stay awake technically. As long as there's a landline in my room that connects to the main landline of the home. And that's what we have to keep on, which is fine. Some nights I do have to stay up, a resident, for example, has to go to the hospital or something, and I want to stay up just to make sure they get home safely. I'll stay up. I go read a book or drink lots of Diet Coke or just stay up and just stay awake. Generally, it doesn't take that long, and it's very rare when it does happen.
So, what's the best part about working as a night matron?
Good question. Well, other than the fact I don't have to worry about, my basic needs, it's actually pretty relaxed. I was working a job before this. The job I worked before this was pretty hectic. And, it was nice to be able to just to chill and relax and just just focus on things as they come.
So, do any of the seniors, try to stay up late?
We have a few night owls, some people who will stay up late, and that's fine. But for the most part, they tend to go to bed pretty early, so...
So, what's the funniest thing a resident has ever told you?
Well, not so much a funny thing that one of them said, but a funny thing that happened. One of the residents had a wonderful cat who was her emotional support animal. He could live there at the home. And he owned the common area that her room was located in. So the doors would open up and it'd be this little area with a couch and the like. One night I was doing my rounds. Everything was going fine. And she opened the door. I don't remember why. And Buster, the cat, walked out, and he's all luxurious and radiant like a king. He jumps up on the sofa. That was his sofa, by the way. He let his owner sit there, but no one else sat on that sofa when he was there. And he crossed his paws, all nice and dainty, and looked around yes, my caviar, please, my treats, my popcorn, my treats. And I was like, yep, you're a very pampered cat. He was a good boy, though. Very sweet.
So, what kind of emergencies do you have to handle, and what do you do in order to deal with them?
Well, the most common one we have are, medical emergencies. For example, heaven forbid we have, a heart attack or something. My job is to call 911 and have everything ready to go. Fortunately, we live pretty close to the hospitals, so, it doesn't take that long for them to get here. And they're familiar with us, so, they're pretty all ready to go. Probably the other ones we have to worry about are fires and tornadoes, but we have a very good fire alarm system, and we actually have a system set up for evacuations or whatever we need to do. And tornadoes, bad storms, whatever. And those are pretty rare, so... As I said, 99 hours of boredom, 1 moment of sheer terror.
So what's the most fun part about doing this type of work?
Well, you get to know the residents pretty well. So, as I said, I can live on the property. I can go almost anywhere I want. I mean, there's some areas that I'm not allowed to go into unless I have to go into. There's like a little library. There's like a little sitting area, and sometimes the residents will come in and we'll just start chatting. And it's nice hearing all the different stories and getting to know people. And you get a lot of ideas.
So what is one thing you think kids should know about being a night matron?
That's a good question. Big one is be prepared and don't be afraid to use your downtime to learn another skill. I got very good at cooking when I moved in here. I mean, I always loved to cook beforehand, but I got pretty good after I moved in. So you learn to practice your other skills that you can use to take to other careers if you want to do. Go to other classes, certifications. Then again, every retirement home is different. Mine's a unique situation. Others, they just come in during the night, don't live there or whatever. But so.
So here seems like a good time to get a quick commercial break. Let's hear a word from our sponsors.
So you want to make an ad for your company, right?
Yeah, Tiberius, you want to help me?
Okay, so what's the name of the company?
PPWND.
PP what?
Professional Pressure Washing and Detailing.
So you like clean driveways?
Yeah, like that. We pressure wash commercial buildings and semi-truck and trailers.
So how would someone get a hold of you?
They can visit my site at ppwnd.com or call me at 407-900-7793.
So I just tell them to call you at 407-900-7793 or visit ppwnd.com?
Yeah, Tiberius, you got it.
Cut! That's a wrap! Just use that.
Oak Ridge Gun Range is a family-oriented shooting range that has been in business for over 30 years. They specialize in basic firearm training and offer numerous services such as consignments, gun trades, gunsmithing, and concealed weapon classes. I even got my training for gun safety at Oak Ridge Gun Range. Great customer service, and firearm safety is what they do best. So find out more at oakridgegunrange.com.
And we're back here talking with Emily Jahnke, a night matron. And wait. You're a published author?
Yep.
Ooh. Emily, this is awesome. So what type of books do you like to write about?
Well, I mainly write fantasy, historical romance, and recently I decided to delve into something I like to call historical romance-tasy. So historical romance with a lot of fantasy elements thrown in for good fun.
So why did you select that genre?
Why did I select it? Honestly, I couldn't decide one day if I wanted to write a historical romance or a romance-tasy. And you know that old that taco commercial, like the taco shell commercial. They're like debating about how to make a taco, and one of the kids is like, "Well, why not put them together?" I was like, "That's what happened." And I was like, "Okay, let's do that." And that was it.
So what motivated you to want to become an author?
Well, that's a good question. I've always loved storytelling. I was that kid who would come up with a story and just run with it. Tell stories, and people would always look at me like, oh boy, here we go. But at the same time, they're kind of grabbing their popcorn, like, okay, this is going to be good. And but I didn't decide to take the jump into becoming an actual author until I saw the Fellowship of the Ring in theaters as a 13-year-old. I saw that movie, I fell in love. I'm like, I want to be a storyteller. That's what I want to do, and that was it.
So was it hard to find someone to publish your books?
Well, it does help to network. Before I published this book, or was going to publish this book in 2026, I did a lot of short stories, and I did a lot of networking. So, I mean, you don't have to network when you're publishing. I mean, look at J.K. Rowling. She didn't know anybody in the industry and got her debut novel published on the first go, basically. But it does help to know some people who can say, hey, I've heard that this publisher who I think will be a good fit for your fantasy novel. And they will get you connected. Again, you don't need to do it. but it does help to have that little bit of connection right there. So
what do you think is better, like reading a paper book or listening to an audiobook?
ooh, good question. It depends on what I'm doing. Obviously, if I'm driving a car or something, audiobook. But if I'm like, just I got some time to relax, I pick up a paper book. So they all have their advantages and disadvantages. So this knows what you gotta do.
So can you tell me more about your books?
Okay, so my debut novel that's coming out in a couple of years. It's set during the American Civil War, the last months of it actually, and basically it's about these Yankee soldiers. They're stuck behind enemy lines, like they are thousands of miles from home. They're like, "What the frick are we gonna do?" And they end up staying with a Confederate who owns a plantation. They're like, "Hey, let's go here. Let's give it a try." And it turns out that she is a changeling, which is a young fae that had been swapped with a human baby. And so they're not trusted in that world. And so they're like, well, we're here. We might as well stay. And this whole book's about what happens after that happens.
Huh.
Yeah.
So do you ever create characters for your book based on people that you know in real life?
Oh, goodness, yes. Yep, I've taken elements from people I've met, I've known in my life. Most of the characters in this book were based on people that I've known in my life. I've took qualities of the personalities from, habits, quirks. You'd be amazed when you're an author. You're a very observant person. That's what I found anyway. People who are authors are very observant. They see something and then 5 years later, like, oh, I remember that quirk. I better put that in and. That's it. That's how that works.
Like old ladies with like crazy cats and stuff. Like, is that?
Yep, that was one character that got put in a short story I wrote actually.
Huh. So what's the hardest part about being an author?
Well, it can be a bit tricky sometimes. Sometimes I get this wonderful idea. I think this is amazing. This is perfect. This is great. I gotta write this down. I will get maybe 75% of the way through the book, and then I realize I don't know how to finish this. I don't know where this story's going. And that's when I put it on the back burner. Unfortunately, what happens sometimes is that I'll never get back to it. And I had to learn over the years, that's not a bad thing. You did try something. And sometimes I take elements from, stories that didn't work out and put them in future books. So it's not a total waste of time, but it can be very frustrating sometimes.
Mm-hmm. So what's the most fun part about seeing your book in print?
Seeing it in print. Just the fact of I wrote this, look at me. Bragging rights, I guess.
So I also hear that you used to work as a Disney custodian as well. Can you
Yes,
tell
I
me more
did.
about that?
Yep. I started working there in 2015. Actually, that was round 2. I tried it originally in 2013, but since that was 2013, I think it was a bad, unlucky year for me. Didn't last very long. Waited a couple years. I tried again. I got in, and I was there until 2023 when I decided to go back to college. So,
So Emily at Disney, does that mean that you get to see the city like under the park, like the underground city?
oh, you mean the Utilidor? Yep. I got to see it a few times. I wasn't stationed at Magic Kingdom, but I did go in there a few times. So it was pretty neat.
Huh. Well, I really enjoy Disney stuff. So how do they keep the park like looking so clean all the time?
Well, this is a little fun fact of history for you. One of the things that Walt Disney did when he established the park, when he was Disneyland, he wanted the park to be super clean. That was like one of the big things he wanted. So one thing that he implemented, it's still practiced in the parks today, is that everybody is a custodial cast member. Now, with custodians, like myself, we did the more hard, the ones that involved the more clean, like cleaning bathrooms. If we had someone cut themselves and we needed to clean up the mess, we did that. But like for example, a cast member walks by, there's a piece of trash, you picked it up. There was actually a special technique you would use to scoop it up, and you'd throw it away. And even managers do that. You see the managers all the time walking around with their trash pickers. They're all dressed up, and they still would pick up the trash like any other cast member. So that is how strict or rather how important, I should say, the cleanliness rule is to Disney. So that's how we were able to keep it so clean.
Wow.
Was that we just made it, yeah.
So, what should a kid listening right now do to prepare if they want to grow up and become a night matron?
Well, it helps to have a lot of different skills on hand. Like first aid is a nice one to have on hand. So, I mean, if you want, you want to become a certified nurse or whatever, that wouldn't be a bad thing to have in your toolkit. Basic first aid skills, how to handle being on the phone because you are, answering the phone at night. Always basically being on your toes because, as I said, sometimes you'd be completely calm and fine and then bang, something happens. But again, that bang is really rare. So,
Emily, what is the most misunderstood part about your work?
Probably that we just sit around and do nothing because that's not entirely true, I would think. We've, that you are, when there's a lot of downtime, sure, but if you are, we're often just doing things like, answering questions and things like that. We're doing a little bit of everything. So you think you're just laying around doing nothing? Not true.
So, who can you say was the person that helped drive your passion the most?
For writing, for Disney, for the night matron?
Anything.
Probably my late grandmother. She was who I got my storytelling genes from. She was that lady who always had all these sorts of stories about stuff, and we never knew if she was stretching the truth or if she was making all of it up, but it never mattered because, she was just such a good storyteller. So, and she was always like one of the first who wanted to hear what I was working on. So
can you share some advice for someone wanting to work in like the senior living field?
Well, as I said, it does help to, at least know basic first aid. I mean, you don't have to. I mean, again, that depends on the job. Some locations, they do want you to at least have a background in first aid. Again, that's fine. Or a nursing degree or whatever. But know how to deal with people who are of a different generation than you do. Because, they were raised differently than we're raised today. And it doesn't mean that, they're good and we're bad or they're bad, we're good. It just means we're just different. And you have to learn how to communicate with people, really learn how to listen. And that doesn't just mean not talking while someone's talking. Like you get the information that they're telling you and, put it when you're talking back to them.
So why would a kid right now want to grow up and do your job?
Well, sometimes it's always the most compassionate people I find. And I think we need more of that. And, you do, I have learned, I wasn't a bad person before I started, but I definitely noticed to become a lot more compassionate and caring because I've started working with people who, want to live in a facility like our own and, they have, whatever, that I'm able to talk with them and communicate with them. So
on that note, let's take a quick break to pay some bills.
The Tiberius Show would like to thank one of their dedicated sponsors, Custom Designs Orlando. These guys are on Mills Avenue and do all sorts of stuff, ranging from photo ID badges, engraved signs, custom braille ADA signs, vinyl lettering to trophies and awards. The cool part about Custom Designs is they can ship products all over the United States. You can reach them at 407-898-0373 and tell them that
Tiberius
sent you.
Over 40 years, Lighthouse Central Florida has provided education, independent life skills, and job training to thousands of Central Floridians who live with blindness or any degree of vision loss. Whether it's picking out clothes in the morning or just moving around your community and serving Orange, Seminole, and Osceola counties, contact Lighthouse Central or visit them online at lighthousecfl.org.
And we're back here with Emily Jahnke, Night Matron, Custodian, author, and so much more. So, Emily, when you think about your many different jobs in your career, is there always that one memory that makes you smile? And think about it, just a second.
Well, I think I got a good one for you.
Well, what is it?
I was the last Christmas I worked at Disney. It was till 2022. I worked at Disney Springs. That's where I was stationed, and we had a show every hour, I believe it was. We have snow fall on the bus terminal, where the guests would get off from the resort buses, and we have the big old Christmas tree there. And one day I thought it would be really fun. I talked to my managers about it, and they adored the idea. To go to a kid, and convince them that I could make it snow, and that could help them make it snow. And so, I got permission to do it, and I did that every night I was on duty. I got permission from the managers to do this. They actually loved it. They actually would hang out to watch me do it. And I actually bought little puck lights. You know those little puck lights that you can hang up and you just press the button? I hid those in my hands. I have a pair of gloves on, and I would get them going, and I would just do this, and I would press down, and the lights would come on, and they thought it was actual lights. And I knew where the snow would come from, so I would get the hands ready, have the kids do it too, and they would just push it out right as the snow would start falling, and oh my gosh, their faces would light up like Christmas trees. They're like, "We made it snow!" And I remember on Christmas Eve in particular. We didn't have a lot of people there because it was unusually cold that year. It was freezing cold, so we didn't have a lot of people out there. And my manager said, we're kind of slow right now. Go out there as much as you want and do that. And I did as much as I could that night. It was so much fun.
So what was that one thing that happened in your career that you did not expect?
Probably ending up at this job, believe it or not. It literally fell into my lap, basically, was what happened. I was looking for a job, and a person at the college I was attending at the time, or that I just graduated from, said, "Hey, they're looking for a night matron, and you get a place to live, you get food to eat, all that good stuff. Would you be interested?" And I'm like, "I'll take it." So I applied for the job, and got asked to come in that afternoon. Walked out with a job, and 4 days later, I was moving in.
Nice.
Yeah,
so
it was crazy how that happened.
So if you could just for one day do a different job, what would it be and why?
Different job. That's a good question.
Just for a day.
Yeah, just trying to think. I would like to work as a librarian. That'd be a lot of fun. Recommend books recommend books, movies. Know a little bit of everything. So.
So what have you learned about yourself that you wish that you knew earlier?
Well, believe it or not, I wasn't always not assertive, but able to stand my ground a little bit better. I was a people pleaser, and being kind is a good thing, but I was taking it a little too far, if that makes sense. And people would walk all over me, and that's not good for anybody, frankly. And after I started working here, I started learning how to put my foot down. Not in a mean way, not a bad way, just, hey, I can't do this right now. But let's figure out a solution to this problem. And I realized, hey, I actually like this. I actually like standing up for myself. It's pretty nice.
So if you could change anything to make your job easier or better, what would it be?
What would I change? I don't think I would change anything, to be honest. No, it's pretty comfortable. I have my needs taken care of. I'm able to be comfortable, live comfortably, and know that I have a roof over my head and food on the tables. And you know what? That's all. That's we got the basics taken care of. I can just worry about the rest.
So, Emily, on your off time, besides writing, what are your favorite things to do for fun?
Oh goodness, I love to read. I have a huge bookshelf over here with lots of books on it. All the books I've gathered over the years. Well, most of them anyway. Love to watch movies. Old classic movies are my favorite. I have a collection of Walt Disney did a TV show back in the 50s called Zorro about the masked hero. I got the both seasons on a DVD, so I watched that. And I also play video games too. So
what's your favorite one?
Oh goodness, I love puzzle games. I adore puzzle games. I will play those all day long. Nancy Drew is my favorite by Her Interactive. The other one I like too. It's by a company. It's called Big Fish Games. It's Dark Tales, Edgar Allan Poe's Dark Tales. Basically, you play one of his characters. If you're a big fan of Edgar Allan Poe, I highly recommend them. And they're puzzle games. You're solving mysteries, so you get to put the brain to good work.
Huh. So what's your favorite book to read, other than your own?
Oh, man, that's a hard one. I think my absolute favorite was probably Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Or anything by Edgar Allan Poe, really, so...
So, what's the biggest mistake that you've ever made, and how did it change you as a person?
Ooh. Ooh, deep dark secret time. Nah, don't worry. If I could be 100% honest, it's I should have focused more on what I was good at instead of doing what I loved. Because you hear this all the time, right? Do what you love, do what you're passionate about. It's a good thing, but someday something might happen where you get tired of it, you get bored of it, you actually end up hating it. So focus on what you're good at. It depends on what it is. If you're good at numbers, look at going into accounting, for example. Or, but if you want to do rock and roll music in your spare time, you can keep that as a hobby instead of trying to become a rock musician. Because again, you might end up hating that job. And, well, that's no fun. So do what you're good at, not what you love. So
Okay.
that was probably my big mistake, was focusing on my passions instead of what I was good at.
Okay. Now, can you tell me that one story? Remember, this is a kid's show. But that one story, that you're not supposed to tell me about. Come on, you can tell me.
Okay. Well, I think I might have a good one for you then. Still makes me laugh when I think about it. When I was younger, my younger brother and I did not get along. Yeah, we were sibling. We sibling rivalry galore. Open up the dictionary to sibling rivalry. Their pictures would have been right there. I think I was 10 when this happened. We were driving somewhere to run an errand, and we had to go to a different town to do it. And we lived out in Iowa at the time. And if you're in between towns in Iowa, if you know anything about that area in the Midwest or whatever, there's nobody around for miles kind of thing. And we got into an argument in the car.
Oh.
And our mom had enough. She was like, I'm done. And she pulled over. She looked at us like, you ever heard the phrase, if looks could kill? Yeah, we would have been dead. And she said, okay, you two, out. You're walking home. And my brother and I looked at each other and we're like, Mom, are you sure? Out! She screamed, out. And we didn't get out of the car. We flew out of the car. We were that scared because we knew that tone. And we get out, we close the door, and she drives down the road. She didn't get very far, I don't know, maybe 100 feet or so, but far enough away that you honestly believe she was leaving. And she stopped and pulled over. And my brother and I looked at each other and were like, whoa, do you think we should go back and try to get a ride from her? And I'm like, yeah, let's go. So we walk back to the car, and we get in the car, and we're not making eye contact with her, okay? We're looking down the floor. Get in, buckle up, we're putting down the floor. And she said, Did you kids on your lesson? We didn't say a word because we were like, okay, she's gonna, we were too scared to. We're like, did you learn your lesson? Are you gonna do it again? Oh, let's go home. And she drove off to go home. She said that was the quietest car ride she ever took in her entire life. We were just too scared to argue with her. There's no way that would happen today, but it worked.
That actually would work, I will say. Well, do you have a Facebook or a website for my listeners who want to follow you?
I do. I do have my Facebook account. Emily LaFlame. LaFlame is one word. Jahnke. So that's on Facebook. So yeah.
Well, what is that one question that you think I forgot to ask you?
Should I torture you? Well, you didn't give me a chance to ask any questions about you.
Oh, great. Yay.
Got ya.
Well, got any questions for me?
Well, how do you enjoy doing your show?
I enjoy it. It's fun. It's nice. It's nice to know that in life that you're helping kids out, knowing about different jobs.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Do you think you're going to keep doing this for the rest of your life, you think, or?
For the rest of my life, it's a bit of a stretch because I'm 14, but
Yeah.
probably not the rest of my life, knowing that life could be very, very long. Plus, there's not really a lot of jobs out there. We've only done about 400 shows. I mean,
Wow.
It's a lot, but still, we're running out of jobs.
We'll find stuff.
I'm sure.
Yep. So, if there's anything you would want to do with your life, I mean, other than the show, obviously, what would you like to do?
I've been trying to study aeronautics. I'm finally going to high school this year.
Wow.
So I just graduated from the Christ School. So
Congratulations.
I'm happy with it. So I'm now going to high school in 9th grade next year. So I hope I do well on that because I'm excited for it.
I think you will.
Passed. So, but yeah, so I think aeronautics is going to be the way I go.
Awesome. Congratulations. My cousin he graduated from FIT several years ago. He wanted to work for NASA, but he ended up working somewhere else and said he loves it a lot. So, yep.
So am I good to go back now, or?
Yep. Go ahead. You're fine. the interrogation's over.
All right, well, thank you, Emily, for being my
You're
special
welcome.
guest. Can you stick around for Math Corners?
Absolutely.
Aw, Dad, my computer's slow again and I can't play my games.
Call Your Computer Solutions today, and we will scan for viruses and clean that computer up remotely and make it fast again. Our phone number is 407-826-0810.
Thanks, Dad. My computer's fast again. Now I can do my homework. Thanks for calling Your Computer Solutions at 407-826-0810.
Tiberius' favorite subject, it's Math Corners!
And now it's time for Math Corners. Thank you so much, Emily, for helping me with Math Corners. This week,
You're welcome.
we're going to do some more multi-step word problems. My dad is always good at finding new problems for me to solve. And today, we're going to talk about a night matron at work. Ooh.
Of
Okay,
course.
so Mrs. Lopez is a night matron at a senior center. During her 10-hour shifts, she checks on each of the 15 residents every 2 hours. Each check-in with a resident takes about 6 minutes. How much total time does Mrs. Lopez spend on checking on residents during her shift? Okay, I'll answer it. I was waiting for you to answer, but you know what? I guess I'll go answer it. Well,
Oh, there's a joke about authors not being good at math, so it's very true.
Well, this is a real-world problem because you do have to keep track of time to ensure that you're able to recover everyone's needs. So first you have to figure out how many check-ins are done for each resident. Now, since the shift is done in 10 hours and there are one check-in every 2 hours, I mean, you just divide 10 by 2 and you get 5 check-ins per resident. Well, that was really easy. So now you just take the 5 check-ins and times it by the 15 residents. Still easy, that's only 75 total check-ins for the night. Now you finally have to take the 75 check-ins times 6 minutes each, and you get, this is harder. 715 minutes. I got it. And then you divide that by 60 minutes, and you get 7 hours and 30 minutes. Yeah. So that means you spend 7 hours and 30 minutes a day during check-ins. It's basically school. So, Emily, do you have to do check-ins with your residents, or do you just wait for them to call you?
It depends on the situation. We've had a few times where a resident had like come home from the hospital or whatever, and we're like, "Hey, could you just stop by and just make sure they're okay?" Something like that, or sometimes we'll get a call from another resident, like, "Hey, I heard this resident. I heard something fall in that room. Could you go check on them?" But most times it's they call us. So.
Okay. Well, my tutor said that I would use math every single day. How do you use
Very
math
true.
with your work?
Well, back when I worked in the kitchens, I would sometimes bake. Let's just say I got very good at fractions and the metric system. So, very good.
Well, thank you so much, Emily, for your help with Math Corners.
You're welcome.
And now it's time for the Heart of a Lion. As you know, we talk about the qualities of living by the Heart of a Lion, which stands for leadership, integrity, obedience, and ability. This week, we're going to talk about leadership. For me, I think leadership is the act of loving what is good, having self-control, and being disciplined. The qualities of leadership are providing guidance and direction, organization, and being a positive influence on others. Now, as I said earlier, this week I graduated from 8th grade. Our principal stood at the podium and spoke about our futures, of course. Then they showed us videos of our class, starting with 1st grade, going all the way through 8th grade. I mean, I saw as the teachers were sitting there around they were really proud of all the work they did to prepare us for high school. I mean, it showed that the leadership was not just being in charge, but about setting a good example and encouraging their students. It was preparing us and lifting us up to become leaders ourselves. I mean, it was great. I mean, I enjoyed it. It was my last day there. I'm probably going to go back and visit sometimes. Who knows?
Yeah.
So, Emily, do you have an example of leadership that you saw this week?
Well, not at my job, but one of the things I do in my spare time is I moderate a writing group for other fantasy authors. And I am one of the moderators, so whenever the creator is not there, I'm one of the people who helps run the site. And I remember one incident, it actually happened quite a while ago. We had a couple of our members get into a disagreement about something. I don't remember what. And so it was on Discord. So I said, okay, nobody type for 3 minutes. Stay away from the keyboards so I can look over and see what's going on. Because I jumped on pretty late to the discussion. And so they did that. They did not type. No one went anywhere near it. I scrolled up. I looked at the information, everything that happened. And then I'm like, okay, this situation happened. We got the thing corrected. We figured out where the disagreement was, and we got it figured out, that was good. And then I'm like, okay, well, next time, please try to remain civil on the Discord. And it was awesome when I got done. I was like, I just did that? Wow.
Okay, well, we should always try to be lion strong in everything we do, shouldn't we?
Agreed.
And that's our show, folks. I want to thank the one, the only, the amazing Emily Jahnke for being on my show. It has been so much fun talking to you today. I think we learned a lot about your work as a night matron and an author.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad to help.
Do you mind giving your social media and website again?
Yep. I just have the Facebook website. Emily LaFlame Jahnke on Facebook. I might create my own website in the future. It's still up in the air, so we'll see when we get there. We'll see when we get there.
Well, also, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at The Tiberius Show, and I would like to thank WWPR 1490 AM, K10 98, Soul Radio 24/7, EasyBay TV, and all the other stations that air my show. And please be sure to visit Tiberius Show on YouTube and hit that subscribe button. It really, really just helps, you know. Well, Emily, are you subscribed yet?
I will be as soon as we're done.
Uh-oh. That's not good. That's not good. Well,
Don't worry.
Be sure to leave me a comment if you all want to work in a senior center. I answer all the comments myself. And be sure to listen to us next on The Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy. That's a wrap.